Okay, this is Steve Pift here. I'm here to go over the thing about the screw room and probably say how he kind of dropped the ball. Didn't try to start on a trap, but he didn't make it better. But let's get going. You expose the parts of B screw once. Why the back? Okay. Venise Vargas Terran. Remember the old remedies once used to bat the new one with screw and mix the rub traditional herbs on the wound in which the insectus to spare it into legs, so the larvae could feast on the living tissue. Some of your slice to produce it. Meanwhile, you pour into oils on the crust. The larvae will seep out, but then crawl into the soil and moves later flies. I say you never eradicate the screw worm because they came back from my grandfather, father, and this is forever, he's called. Those old-fashioned methods came before the advent of Comexa, the Mexican United States Commission for the eradication of screw worms in 1972. Vargas Terran, who lived in Mexico City, was animal health officer with the commission. He monitored the screw worm population in Mexico. He teamed up with NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston to predict the pest spread with satellite sensor and help oversee the reduction of flies. All about them in the Texas expert warrior that eventually ever since the pest returned to Mexico in November 2024. In press release, USDA Undersecretary Deli Huskins, the United States has defeated the pest flow and will do so again. Yeah, that's before the dose cuts, mister, but the U.S. may not be facing another war. It cost more than $1 billion if it hadn't been a joint effort in Mexico. In 2003, after 40 years, the country terminated a stale fly production in Chiapas was closed. Both moves stand for a desire to cost cuts given the eradication of screw in North and Central Mexico. Commission can be seen as a victim of his own success. Why maintain the army with its own enemy in sight? Oh yeah. Too bad that wasn't applied to the Pentagon. Vargas Terran and some other experts believe the U.S. and Mexico would be better off today. Mexico was still active. Mexico could have better coordinated with Central America nations when the screw worm began spreading northward there from in 2023 and could have used the Chiapas factory to saturate North America with stale fly. Flesh City plans past the return the time to increase U.S. isolation and distrust of scientists. President Donald Trump's White House has treated with Mexico and other allies with slashing balance for numerous government programs and staff, including the USDA. City Commission in the U.S. and Mexico produce stale flies and distribute information to ranchers and collect it and study samples from the United States provided planes and ships, and 80% of all COMEX costs. The higher level leadership and supervising were basically split 50-50. Members aim to move the stale fly bodies barracks from Mexico's northern border to the SMS Tepic near the southern border. In 1976, the country opened a fly factory near the nearby Chiapas to produce up to 500 million flies a week. Bigger plants at southern bears were key to the substitute eradication in both countries. The United States words directly over the screw worm was rooted in Texas in the late 50s since the state livestock industry began raising funds and lobbying for government assistance to launch a stale fly breeding program. U.S. state entomologists Rain Burson and Edward Kippen, a Port Levico native, had used X-rays military units near sanitary to sterilize squirmers. These scavengers the flyworms will still seek to reproduce. Squirmer-free females mates only once in their life, so if they pair the sterile male released in 100 qualities to animal white male, they'll lay eggs that would have. They could have decimated the population. USDA was pumping up to about 100 million flies each week at the facility in Edinburgh. These were employed to produce high barrels still fills along the U.S.-Mexico border, whereas strategic stops near the outbreaks. Along the swimmers that fly as far as animalized livestock groups in the U.S. and Mexico start lobbying for formal cooperation with the country's government eventually leading the creation of COMEXA. The convinced the U.S. and Mexico produce stale flies, distribute information to rats, and collect and study samples from the affected livestock. The United States provided planes and shipping board. 80% of all COMEXA supplies, with high level of super rewards was basically a split 50-50, Marcus Turan said. The commission later established Fort Schumer production, including Belize and Guatemala, and Swiss saw the last Schumer case in the 90s. Until New York's raid began in 2023. Eventually, these efforts opposed the let's see. Vulnerable President Congress and Obama White House in the wake of the Great Recession between 2010 and 2012. USA operating budget was reduced by $3 billion, or 12%. Oh yeah, that's when the Republic took over and went about post austerity after in 2011. The Department Schumer funding fell from $27.7 million to $20 million between 2011 and 2000. Edward Avalos, then Undersecretary of Extra Marketing and Regulatory Program, gave a statement to Congress with the indicated the success of past outrageous efforts, including the Schumer program, allow for the budget tightening. In 1912, he signed an agreement with Mexico that dissolved COMEXA, letting go of the collaborative scientists, program managers, field supervisors, technical staff from both countries. It has all the commercial equipment in Mexico was turned over to the Mexican government, including the Chiapas fly factory. After the completion of the Panama plant in 2016, Chiapas facility maintained as a backup for emergency outbreak, reduced about 10 million flights each week as an annual cost of $4 million. According to the USDA, but Mexico closed it in April 2015. Even the Panama plant as a lone stale fly protection. The U.S. continued jointly operate the plant and the funded screwing research. Okay. U.S. continued jointly. Okay. The loosening of the COMEX belly restaurant with the Beltway Elite, much later the general public, but the end of the 2 minutes caught the attention of Neil Wickles, President and CEO of East Foundation, Center on Land-Based Stewardship and Ransom. At the time of COMEX's demands, he observed the USDA was trimmed back laws and one seemed a little bit weaker. Given the relatively small vessel would have been required to continue formally cooperating with Mexico and maintain a backup steel flight facility compared to 1.5 million. And compared to 1.5 million estimated and a savings for U.S. livestock producers attributed to Schumer Fleet America. He believed he could concern was validity of the last 2 years and that a functioning red-up plant in Chiapas could have saturated the region with rainbow flight. If we had to have that facility in Mexico and Chiapas, would have been able to catch up, keep it from getting up into northern Mexico, and drive them back south of Panama. Wilkins said, whose organization was part of the Schumer Collection. Texas was consists of groups representing livestock producers and landowners. Maxwell Scott at North Carolina State University, epidemiologist who researched the screw agreed that a production facility in Mexico would have improved the handling of the Mexico airport, but that's in hindsight. He said another screw expert, Dixon E.M. etymologist Philip Copper, said that having all the production and pound given the facility limited coverage stopped the wisest thing could have done, but he added that the stale flight plan, while highly complex, requires significant upkeep, making it difficult to justify keeping it open where the buzz concern was paramount. With a weekly capacity of 100 million stale flies and Paramount plant, the Mexico and Central American countries simply don't have enough insects releases to saturate the wild male population, eradicate the swarms. The Texas outbreak alone require up to 4 million stale flies per week in East County, where swarming has been detected. 10 counties so far until about 3 months after the last fly has been detected. Weekly capacity about 3 million antibody scheduled to be finished in fall 2027. Whatever the cost to maintain the original champion plant over the last 30 years would have been, got to be less than $750 million by the end of the fly production. But and they can make the ultimate less expertise ready available for supporting Central American countries, said Vargas Duran. And Roger heard from the USDA employees who felt hamstrung working with Mexico after the 2024 appearance of scrum because the lack of formal agreements between the two countries. They would tell you that they had no structure with they were working, and we were having an event along the spokesman for the USDA told Texas Month if they had worked with the Columbia Food and Agriculture Agency, I think it's said, UC responded to this coordination. We were able to keep the New World screw below the southern border for a year longer than most wanted, and we were to continue to encourage effort to drive this back. Fortunately, the USA didn't limit all the funding for screw research, and scientists working on keeping both the livestock insect receptory in Caper and has developed a new technique for battling them. Scott, the North Carolina State professor, helped create a male-only screw strain which selfly doubled the plant's capacity because past strain has contained male and female. Genetic engineering could allow for breeding screwers to carry dominant traits with things such as laying eggs and dead, whether live animals or boiling only males, would eventually kill off the species entirely. Wilkins and Kaufman are pleased with the USDA's recent response and optimistic the U.S. will be at hand of the crisis, but the effort will take years. Vargas Duran noticed it will also require a strong international relation. Working alone, Mexico and the United States can achieve control. But erratic release would take something like Comex, and unlike last time, hope countries will stick together long after the problem is solved. Well, that's it on the thing. I'll get more about we had with the crisis. We don't have enough large animal veterinarian in Texas. You have a good day, and Stiff Pitt signing out.